If we can square away budget and format, then we would be in the clear, I think, to have, similar to the other events, a public planning session to hammer out some final details without wandering into sunshine violations. Attorney Geller, do you have an opinion on, does that sound like a reasonable plan for that?
Well, I mean, the simple answer is that any other planning you need to do, just have the clerk post.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't have a committee, you can't talk
Perfect.
about it, you can't have this, a special meeting of this committee or a special July 4th committee. You just can't do it without telling people. So if a citizen or the press wants to come or listen or, you know, whatever, just post it and you can do all the planning you want.
Fantastic.
Let me,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and
Certainly.
Attorney Geller, if we move the idea of having a 4th of July celebration out of committee tonight, we can discuss it at the May full council meeting. We can put it on the agenda. The June full council meeting, we
Yep.
can put it on the agenda.
Okay.
So,
You can certainly do that, but I mean, to the extent that you need to do, you know, nuts and bolts planning, you can have a committee, you can do all those things, you just can't do it in secret. So, you know, appoint a committee or pick or
Okay.
work it with the Women's Club,
Right.
whatever, but just make sure that anything you do that it has the force of the council and the village behind it is posted so citizens and the press know about it. And, you know, it's like a workshop. You can do it to your heart's content.
Very good. All right. In light of that, any more comments from the committee?
No.
All right, I'll close the committee and open it to the public. Does anyone joining us this evening have anything to contribute regarding 4th of July celebration? All right, I will close it to the public, bring it back to committee, and then I would essentially be looking to have a motion to confirm that we would have an event in the evening of July 3rd, $500 budget, and the rest we can sort out with an additional public planning meeting.
yeah, I'm going to make a motion in a second, Mr. Chair. The only reason why I said to bring it to the full council meeting is because we have 2 left before the 4th of July. Also, I'm trying to make it so that I don't have to get you guys, like, we don't have to all get out of our house to come here just for that. For meetings, we're going to be here.
Yep.
So we'll already be here. That's the only reason why I suggested the regular council meetings. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, for to move the 4th of July celebration event to the full council.
I second it.
Very good. Having a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed say nay. Hearing none, we will discuss further at the full council meeting, and we'll go with that plan. All right. Very good. Moving right along as quickly as possible. Code Enforcement Town Hall. I have this because it's been important for a long time now, and especially now that code enforcement is becoming more active. Now, just a reminder why this is on the public affairs meeting is because we discussed that town halls would essentially show up on the public affairs tracking report. So just a reminder why we're discussing code enforcement at the public affairs committee meeting. So code enforcement town hall, originally I was thinking June 12th. We're getting pretty packed in June and it's coming up quick. So my new proposal, I don't know how this works with August being an off month, but the way I see it is either we pack it in July, which is going to be a busy committee month, or we put it in that very slow, quiet month of August. Madam Manager, you may have specific thoughts on whether or not August is a good idea.
August is more of it's a recess for other government agencies, for you all as well. And it's also a time for us to work on budget. So I really don't see why you think June is too crowded. We only have 1 council meeting and we're having 1 event.
Okay, so you still want to, because I think June 12th we had talked about. Do you
Right.
still think that's a good day?
I do. I also think it's a good way to start the summer because this is when people are at home and they'll be doing more cleanup and doing things around their homes. And I mean, they're already doing a lot, but maybe, we've been getting a influx of concerns about the code.
yes.
So maybe sooner
So
than
that
later.
engagement is better sooner rather than, okay.
Mhm.
So then that would be, okay, in that event then, I'm no longer the chair of code enforcement. This was put in motion when I still was. So I guess what I'd be looking for on this one would be a motion to bring this discussion to full council for finalization of date and time. That way we could include the current chair of the Code Enforcement Committee, possibly have input from Officer Sharyar, as well as the manager at that time. Does that sound reasonable to the committee?
Yeah, I have no problem with that, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, you guys, let's just keep in mind that if you're looking to do a hurricane preparedness town hall towards the beginning of June, June 5th is the Little River cleanup, that's the Saturday.
Mhm.
June 19th is Juneteenth, which is a
Mhm.
Saturday. So if we do it June 12th for code enforcement, you're talking about your hurricane preparedness would be like June 26th.
All right. In that case, then,
Or you could do the hurricane preparedness June 12th if you want it toward the beginning and do the code enforcement June 26th.
all right, give me 1 second. Let me look at.
That's why
So I feel like I don't need really that much lead time for the hurricane preparedness. So June 5th is the June 12th. Okay. So I believe for this year, getting it started, we might even get more interest. The fact that it's even later in the month. So June 26th. Oh, no, that's not, I won't be able to do, the 26th for me is out. Okay, this gets a little sticky then. All right, so I don't want to spend too much time on this right now. I just want to, since all we got left is the tracking report and 2 more committee meetings. All right, so maybe what I'm looking for is a motion to finalize dates for the hurricane preparedness and code enforcement town hall. I don't think it would be wise to combine them, although that would be fun. So maybe what I'm looking for is a motion to finalize the dates for those 2 activities at the full council meeting.
Mr. Chair, we've already made a motion for the hurricane preparedness, so let's just make a motion to move
that-
forward with the
yeah.
code enforcement
Yeah,
town
perfect,
hall.
Perfect.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. Finalized date at the general. Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
the motion.
Very good. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. Having a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Yes. You're correct. I'm very sorry about that. You're right. Before we continue with that vote, I will close the meeting to the committee and open it to the public. Does anyone have any comment on the code enforcement town hall proposed?
Why are we discussing a code enforcement town hall in a public affairs meeting?
So as I had said at the beginning, town halls are part of the public affairs tracking report. And so they show up in discussion. I know there's a town hall also in discussion for Public Works. And because of the need to notify the public about the town halls, it goes into the public affairs tracking report. And then this item specifically, the code enforcement town hall, was something that I had proposed when I was chair of code enforcement, and we had kind of put it in motion. And it's getting to be now where we have a very productive code enforcement officer, and there is now a need that, as the manager is saying, sooner rather than later, there needs to be some engagement with the residents, because it feels different and new for all the residents, the notices going out, violations and things like this. And so the sooner we can kind of get the residents and code enforcement on the same page and communicating, the better it will be for everyone. That's why we were discussing that we should go ahead and try and get this done in June and not wait till August, because of the need, because of the way that the code enforcement is newly conducting business the way it has not in years past. I don't know if that was way more information than you wanted, but in a nutshell, that is the reason it is showing up here. Well, we,
inside of the packet in itself?
Can't hear you.
Well, my mic's up, it's been on.
so on
I'm
that,
not saying it's not my ears.
but to your point, I will say that this was discussed last week at the Code Enforcement Committee meeting.
Well, let's try this again. For those of you that did not know, I was not here last week. My phone went out. I also got a call from my children. Things were not good. So I apologize for not being here last week. I didn't know I wasn't going to be here. This all occurred at the last minute. I appreciate longevity of any activities that go on, but I think that's a little bit disrespectful, not even give me a heads up when I first got on the council that there was such a thing. Because I generally only came to council meetings when items needed to be resolved and resolved orderly. The budget, changing statutes, looking at legislative issues. So the Code Enforcement Town Hall meeting may be a necessity. And no doubt we all need to learn about the aggressiveness that code enforcement is engaging at this time. Long overdue. But to hurry up and have it does not sit well with me, especially since I was not here, so it should have been tabled until I came next. Nobody knows what's going to happen before the end of the day. So I've already made my apology, and I ask you to table this item.
Very good.
Vice Mayor,
Yes, please.
as opposed to tabling the item, it should really be transferred to the Code Enforcement Committee. And, you know, whatever Code Enforcement Committee does with it, you know, it can do. I mean, that's for the committee to decide, but it really should be transferred because it's really when that would be like this committee deciding to do something on public safety when we have a public safety committee.
Very good.
I have no objection, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so that would be, well, one second. Does anyone else have anything to add regarding a code enforcement town hall? All right. Dr. Lightfoot, are you satisfied with any more comments needed? Okay, very good. I'll bring it back to the committee. All right, so in light of the comments, I would say that what we're looking for now is a motion to bring this. Okay, so the motion is for Public Affairs Committee to await the July Code Enforcement Committee meeting for direction on how to. Because really, the reason it's in public affairs is so that public affairs could help announce it to the public, ultimately. So really what we're looking for is the Public Affairs Committee to, I guess we don't need to vote on anything for this.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, we do have a motion and a second on the table, so let's put that through, and if we don't want that to go through, we can vote no, we can vote nay when we get there. And then you can go to whatever new motion you're trying to do.
Okay, so
Before we vote,
Yeah.
I have some supplementary questions that would inform my vote on this. If we transfer it to the next Code Enforcement Committee meeting, does that mean that conceivably if there was a need to have the town hall meeting, we wouldn't be having that meeting until like August or September? Okay, and I guess I would like to hear from the manager, because I'm assuming.
all right. Do I have audio? Sounds good? Okay. All right, we'll give it just 1 minute here, but we'll pretty much get started right on time. Thank you. All right, you ready? Okay. Janice, Clerk Jacoby, what time do we have you until tonight? Probably till like 8. Okay. All right. All right. All right. I will call the Public Affairs Committee meeting for May 11th, 2021 to order at 6:30 PM. All right, if I could please first have everyone rise for silent meditation and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Roll call, Vice Mayor, Chair Arvon,
Present.
Vice Chair Martin,
Present.
Member Nickerson.
Here.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, Christy Alou, Village Manager, CFO Chris Wallace, and Interim Attorney Geller. You have a quorum.
Very good. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, welcome Attorney Giller, how are you doing? Before I ask for approval of the agenda, I do actually have just a couple changes to make, and that's really the order that we're gonna go in. So I was thinking that, I wanted to propose at least that the Juneteenth discussion goes first as G1, that the Armed Services 5K would remain G2, and then that the speeding signage proposal would go down to G3 and simply bump the rest down. So the tracking report would remain G7, code enforcement town hall would go to G6, July 4th to G5, hurricane season preparedness town hall to G4. Like I said, the speeding signage proposal G3, armed services 5K remaining at G2, and then the Juneteenth discussion going to G1. Thoughts or considerations on that?
Nope.
I'm fine with that.
Is that good?
No
Okay.
problem.
Okay, so with those changes then, would there be a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda with the changes, Mr. Chair.
Very good. Do we have a second? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Hearing none, we will continue in that manner then. All right. We have no visitors or special presentations. Does anyone have any good and welfare to kick off the public affairs meeting? Going once, going twice. All right, very good. Let's jump right into it. Ms. Martin, before you begin, I will just say that I personally am 100% in support of the village beginning something for Juneteenth this year and continuing into the future. And with that, what do you have in mind?
All right, so I'll keep this brief, but here in the United States, well, at least in El Portal, we celebrate one Independence Day, but in the United States, there are decidedly two Independence Days, at least two Independence Days. For those that don't know, Juneteenth commemorates the day when the last known slaves were advised of their freedom. And unfortunately, that occurred 2 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation. So it is a day that is near and dear to many in the U.S. and many in our village. And I think that it would be really great for us to commemorate Juneteenth. But in addition to that, it falls in line with what a lot of our other cities and a lot of the states in the U.S. are doing. So in Miami-Dade County, I think in October of last year, they decided to make Juneteenth actually a paid holiday. So with that being said, I would move that we would recognize formally Juneteenth in the city of, in the village of El Portal.
All right, very good. Yes, I know we're trying to keep things brief tonight, but this is a big deal. And so I guess, I mean, I don't mind jumping straight into a motion to have El Portal recognize Juneteenth. But we do want to have a discussion on what we would like to see that manifest into, what type of event or recognition.
So initially, this is my thought.
Yeah.
I do think it's a celebratory day, and I do think that partnering is also an opportunity for educating some of the residents that might not know that much, and some of the residents that do know topically what it is. But I do think a partnership with a local museum might be in order, and I'm willing to reach out to History Miami, maybe some other museums that are tied to universities, to come up with some sort of art installations or educational items that could be posted. I don't know what our appetite is for an actual event at this time, so I think that's a great way to not have a large gathering, but also make it celebratory and also something that is educational.
Mayor?
I think our village attorney would like to say something.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
I try to keep my advice to legal matters, but just for what it's worth, one thing you could consider doing in partnership with a museum, as Councilperson Martin suggested, is to have some kind of like a competition, or just not even competition, just open, for the students at the middle school to come up with things that they think are remembrances or celebrations of Juneteenth. And now that you have these mostly bare walls, and we're having, you know, by that point, hopefully a further relaxation in rules, you could have a socially distanced display in Village Hall on Juneteenth, depending on what day of the week or for a few days, where you have some exhibits from the museum, and then you have some others. Doesn't have to be, like I said, a competition. You could just have whatever the students want to come up with, and you can have some kind of like a display here in Village Hall where you put all that stuff out, and people get to come and understand and learn, and, you know, both learn from the museum and be part of helping teach it to the students. So
I
just
do
for
like
what
the
it's
idea
worth.
of engaging Horace Mann.
Yes, I also like
I
that.
don't know what you guys think.
So, in a past life, I was an executive director of an arts and cultural district in the Keys, and we had local school children submit, have submissions at the annual, very large kind of art fair and seafood festival. And so I agree. I don't think it needs to be competition necessarily. Just ask for submissions, and then if we could partner with some other educational entity like History Miami, or somebody who would have material available for use. I think that filling the walls in here with art and education would be a great first step and first activity for the inaugural event. Mayor?
Thank you very much. First, let me say, great idea, Councilperson Martin. Really appreciate this. I have one thing to say, and then I have a question. The first thing I just want to say is that because, you'll get, unfortunately, you'll get individuals who don't understand, which is the education part. And so, if this passes through the full council tonight, I just want individuals out there to know, and I might have to say this again when it goes to the regular council, so I'll keep this one brief. But the reason why Juneteenth would stand out as something that we would celebrate over, officially celebrating El Portal over other holidays, because you might have people out there that might be like, well, then why don't we celebrate this other one and this other one and make this other one official? Is because, as the councilperson said, this was an Independence Day that's directly tied into the United States of America. So you might have other individuals and other cultures out there, not to diminish Juneteenth, but I'm just going to throw something out there, like let's say like St. Patrick's Day or something like that, right? Which celebrates a culture, but that's something that's not like tied directly into the history of the United States only. So it's a different type of situation. So I think people need to understand that, and that's why Juneteenth, is so prevalent in the U.S. Would be so prevalent in the U.S. As the councilperson said correctly, we do have the Independence Day, 4th of July for independence, right, from Great Britain. Okay, Juneteenth is an Independence Day for the only group of people who were brought over here against their will as slaves. The only other group of people that would have any type of argument as far as U.S. history for a day to celebrate them would be the Native Americans. Culturally, that'd be the only other group of people that was American from the beginning, like an American situation from the United States of America, basically. So, and my mom's Native American, you guys know, she lives on the reservation in the Dakotas. So, you know, unless we have, you know, a Native American group come in here and say they also would want, you know, a holiday, you know, or you know, a distinctive holiday that stands out in Native American history, to me, that would be the only other group of people that, you know, we would look at that would be equal as far as like equivalent to what we're talking about with Juneteenth, in my opinion. My only question is that, Councilperson Martin, you mentioned that in some municipalities they also do a like a paid holiday. They recognize it on that level. I'm not sure what scale are you looking on this, because if we're doing just celebratory, it's much easier. If we're doing like paid holiday, then we have to look at other stuff, and it's going to be, you know, it's a longer conversation. Just put it that way.
Not that I don't love the Village of El Portal staff, but I wasn't suggesting a paid holiday as of yet. The first event, I envision it being just an initial celebration or something that just brings more awareness and the opportunity for residents that celebrate to celebrate on a larger scale, and those that don't to learn more about Juneteenth. So I was envisioning just some art installations and some sort of maybe virtual celebration this year.
No problem. I just wanted to be certain so we have your vision, you know, come true. I just wanna make
Definitely,
sure
that's the
we do
vision.
that. All right, thank you. That's all for me,
No.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councilperson Martin.
All right, very good. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it's on a Saturday this year. All right, so it's on a Saturday. Again, with the, at least with the state order on COVID restrictions, we're still under, of course, the county guidelines, but I think that by June 19th, this being a Saturday, it is possible that we could open Village Hall, say, like, I mean, I'm thinking something like extended, like 6 hours, 8 hours, something like that, where we're able to open the doors and even if it's just a matter of somebody being here to allow people in, and I certainly would volunteer for that, so that we're not asking, you know, hourly staff, for example, to spend 8 hours on a day off. And then I certainly would hope that by the time we're coming around to the second annual event of this, we might have seen a path to a paid holiday for village staff. But I think this is long overdue. It's critically important. I can tell you, as someone coming from, you know, the white community, there is a need for people to understand this history fully. And so I just feel strongly this is long overdue. And that's the way I would see it. It's on Saturday. If we had everything set up, ready to go, we could keep the space open for an extended period of time, which would allow for greater social distancing, greater viewership, participation. Thoughts, concerns?
No, I agree with that. The hope is that I would be able to get one of the museums to give us a large installation, and to put somewhere in the village that's prominent, that might be
I do have one contact at History Miami, at least to get started.
awesome.
So I will.
Awesome. And I have I like museums. So
Yes.
I can reach out to some people as well and see if there is an installation that can be put that is something that is very visible, very prominent, beautiful, that might be a draw for people to come to El Portal and just learn more. And in addition to that, the university students, not the university students, middle school students, can put their pieces inside of actual Village Hall. And I would definitely be grateful if you'd be willing to volunteer your time.
I certainly would.
Attorney Geller has
Yes.
a comment?
And just to build on that, you might find that they not only have an installation, but the museum may have some kind of an interpreter or guide that they're willing to have be with it part of the day to help walk people through it. And that's part of their outreach too.
Okay, so I'll make an official proposal here in a minute, but the other item up for discussion would be budget. So this is not on the calendar of events as of yet, so it does not have a budget attached. My proposal is that the way I'm looking at it, we are currently sitting at least with $1,000 in reserve within public affairs that has not been allocated directly anywhere yet. So I would suggest keeping in line with the other events we're having and dedicate a $500 budget to this event. Thoughts?
I think a $500 budget sounds great. The desire would be to have the large-scale installations brought to us at no cost. But when we're working with the middle school students, they are probably going to need materials, and we are probably going to want to present it in some way that looks like an art gallery. So I think that might be a good enough budget for the first year. And this is the first time we're doing it. We'll see where we fall short and if we need to increase going further.
Okay, and then, Madam Manager, a question for you would be, I just had it. I lost it. Mayor, did you want to say something?
I was going to say, you guys might want to consider, or we might want to consider, just like refreshments. So when people come in, you know, we want to give it that art gallery type of feel, cookies, you know, light refreshments.
Oh, you're trying to be fancy. I like it.
No, just trying to, I want your first event to come off well, Councilperson Martin. We're behind you. We're going to support you 100%.
I've still lost it. I will think of it when I think of it, Madam Manager. I'll ask. Okay. So the other proposal I had was make it an 8-hour event so we can make it as accessible as possible for people to come either in the morning. So I'm thinking 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what I'm thinking. And then I think that here in this room of the Village Hall would be ideal because of the time of year, the heat, everything else. I don't think an outdoor event is going to get the turnout. And so that would be my proposal, would be a $500 budget for this event, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on Juneteenth, which is June 19th. And then I think if we agreed to that, then we may be in the clear to do another virtual planning session or whatever, or a planning session where we could at least invite the public if we needed to hammer out some details between now and then, because we are just about 40 days away here from that timeline. So thoughts on Saturday, June 19th, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., looking for collaboration with Horace Mann in terms of student artwork contributed, and entities such as History Miami or other such museum that would have materials available, and some simple food and drink served. And that's what we'd be looking at. If we agree to that, then we could probably have a flyer worked up fairly soon to post the event on the website. Thoughts?
I think all of that sounds good. I can't lock myself into a time right now, but I think we have the opportunity. 40 days is short, but it's also long. So I feel like that we have an opportunity maybe during the virtual planning session to really lock down the time. But all of those details, those preliminary details, sound good to me, and I'm ready to vote, or you guys are.
Yeah, I think it's perfect. I think that you know, I have no problem being here all day that day. Depending on what we get, you know, what we get from not only the students but from the museum itself, if we get something from the museum, we probably will have to use those round tables. I don't know how much these black covers cost. We'll have to get more black covers for probably all those round tables because we don't know if we want to be more safe than sorry. It's just something to keep in mind, you guys, you know. Those round tables that are sitting back there, we'll have to get black covers for them. We don't want them to look gray like that because we don't know how many pictures or things that we're going to be able to get and how many we'll actually be able to hang on the wall. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind, these black covers.
Also to keep in mind is budget. Now, if you're putting $500 towards this event, you want to really put it in the programming. I will look online and see if I can find some black cups, some rounds. Because I think we have whites, but those have to be dry cleaned. And our last bill for getting those dry cleaned was $800.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And black
I'm
like
gonna
this.
see if I can find some plastic or
Yeah.
something a little cheaper online
Okay,
for the rounds.
something like that. depending on how many we get, it might have to be a lot of easels though.
It depends on what you provide, but the easels, you can probably put it around and make it look more. That could
Yeah.
be s-
I was envisioning the easels.
Yeah, so was I.
Yeah.
When you talk about art, that's what I envision.
Yeah, just clear all the chairs
Yes.
and tables out of here
then you
and just keep it flowing.
Mhm.
Like refreshments at the front, circle around, look at the art, exit.
So I think with the Horace Mann contact, we can ask if they have some easels that they can provide too
Okay.
for their students' work.
Okay. Because what I was picturing was, because even if some stuff hangs on the wall, you can push like these back up against the wall and then lean like painting
You could.
against the wall. So when people walk by, it's like
And then,
here.
and then
it's
you could even
there.
have another piece of, in front laying down.
That's
there,
what
yeah.
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And then the round tables could be like where you could walk in between them and look at things also. And I think that would look really, really nice if we laid out and we could lay the whole village hall out like that. Plus easels like in between maybe. And I think that would be perfect. But I think we just keep in mind we need black covers for those round tables. That's all I wanted to say. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to move the Juneteenth celebration to the full council.
I second that.
Very good. Do we need a
Roll call.
roll call? Madam Clerk, please roll call.
Roll call. Member Nickerson.
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin.
Yes.
Chair Urbom.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, very good. But this is just the Public Affairs Committee. You are. All right, so then that gives us actually another opportunity at the full council meeting to just kind of hash out maybe just a few more details as we head into it.
Sure.
And that'll just be in 2 weeks, so that's great too. All right, very good. Let me go back to this screen. Okay, so then that brings us to the Armed Services 5K. So originally we were talking May 15th, which is just 4 days from now. Essentially what I kind of made an executive decision on this one, but what I've decided is that since from Councilperson Dr. Lightfoot Ward's comments regarding Memorial Day weekend, I looked into it that night, but then I looked into it later, and it does seem to be divided right down the middle as far as active duty as well as veterans, 50-50 of who believes that there should be any type of celebratory event at all during the entire Memorial Day weekend. And so with that much division, I certainly agree with Dr. Lightfoot Ward that would not be a suitable weekend to have the 5K. So what I'm proposing is that for this year, we move it to Veterans Day, November 11th. It's a weekday, but I think if we had a early event from like 7 a.m. to 9 a.m., we could still get a fair amount of participation in time for people to, get to work, get to school, things like that. So that is my proposal, is that we give ourselves about 6 months here to plan this properly. And then with that planning for the Veterans Day, November 11th date, we should have everything in order to be able to replicate it again back on schedule in 2022 of the Armed Forces Day in mid-May. Thoughts?
Yeah, I have no problem with that. Let me just say, I just want to say for the record, the Armed Forces 5K was never Memorial Weekend.
Right. That was
so.
my error. I had proposed that, trying to buy us some time for planning because it seemed clear that May 15th was going to be an unreachable goal for that event.
No, absolutely. And yeah, no, I have no problem with that. So it could be the Veterans Day, and Veterans Day, you still celebrate the armed forces and things
Yes.
like that. So it kind of goes together. So I have no problem with that. November 11th.
And then with that 6 month lead time to plan the event properly, we should be able to replicate it, fairly easily and get back on schedule with mid-May for 2022 and beyond.
That's fine with me.
Okay, so I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put that in a tracking report. That it will be into November. I have it there. Okay. All right. Very good. And that'll give us quite a bit of time to do that. So, do I need to take a vote on this, or
We could do it all in favor of,
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
all in favor of moving the Armed Services 5K for the year 2021 to Veterans Day, November 11th?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Anyone opposed, say nay. Very good. Hearing none, that is what we will do for the Armed Services 5K for 2021. All right. I believe if I have this correct, the next item is speeding signage proposal for myself. So, I scared the manager and the chief the day I met with them in the sanctuary parking lot, because what I proposed was 30 phrases we could put in 3 languages and have residents, basically select which phrase they would want and have a uniform, a sign with like a uniform outline on it, like El Portal branded signage that we can put in front yards, or people can elect to have in their front yards to help with the speeding. So I've been dwelling on this quite a lot, and I believe I've come up with a single phrase that can be translated into 3 languages, right? Creole, Spanish, English. And the way I phrase it is with a very specific reason, because it actually sounds better in the opposite order, but I don't believe it will be as effective in the opposite order. So what I propose is that as people drive through El Portal, they will begin to encounter signs that all essentially look the same kind of outline and frame, but some might be in English, some might be in Spanish, some might be in Creole, but the saying will be the same. Keep it simple, right? And that saying is, "You took the scenic route, slow down." So it sounds better to say, "Slow down, you took the scenic route." However, we're trying to engage speeders. So while I have always liked the signs, "Drive like your kids live here," you're missing a huge part of the population in that message. In addition to that, a large part of that population you're missing are younger people who speed who don't have kids. So we're missing a lot of speeders with that message. And so I believe that by saying "you took the scenic route," you're telling them where they are, and then you're issuing essentially the suggestive mandate of slow down. And I believe strongly that if we put "slow down" first, "slow down, you took the scenic route," that it will backfire, because speeders don't want to see that. As soon as they see "slow down" written first on the sign, they will not read the rest of it, and they're just going to ignore the signs. So I think that could be a solution to the problem of, well, what's our message to speeders, and how do we actually get them to think, again, like I said in that meeting some months ago, we just need them to get their foot off of the accelerator, not necessarily even hit the brakes. We just don't want them to be lead footing through the village. Thoughts about that phrase, "You took the scenic route, slow down"?
It's long. How big is the sign going to be?
So almost the same size as you see, like the "Drive like your kids live here." And so that's essentially how I see it, as a like a, what is that, a 14 by 14, or I'll find out what the dimensions are. But if we could at least agree on a phrase, then we could start getting bids on cost of making uniform signs. We would then know the cost, and then we could advertise to residents, say maybe like the first 50 free to whoever signs up, right? And then beyond that, we attach a fee to it if someone wants to buy a sign. Thoughts on that setup in terms of how the execution of getting the signage out into the village? Yeah, I will open it outside of the committee in just a moment.
Yeah, if I can, Mr. Vice Chair. Mr. Chair. I think whatever you guys come up with as far as the verbiage, I won't argue against whatever you guys think is the best. I won't argue against. I think as far as giving the signs out, I think we should provide the signs to the public as much as we can.
Not just the first 50, but
Not just the
anyone
first
who's
50.
asking.
Yeah, I think that if they're going to put them in their yards and they want them, because speeding is just something that it's a problem in our community, and until we can get where we want to go with the traffic study or however we're going to do it, I think that we should try to provide those signs to anybody within the community that wants them. We should attempt to do that.
Councilperson Martin?
Yeah, I'm horrible at coming up with catchy phrases because I'm very wordy. But so I'll leave the wording to you. But I do want to know what the signs will look like. And in addition to that, I do think that the signs are a first step. I would love some more information on how effective that has been. But in addition to that, I really want to know what we're doing as far as like speed traps and, maybe some other things that have been proven to stop speeding.
And then as my last comment here before I go to Dr. Lightfoot Ward, I'll just want to remind everyone that we did establish through the data collected by the police department that we don't necessarily actually have a speeding problem per se in El Portal. The problem is a combination of the speed limit's probably too high, the county won't let us lower the speed limit, and then in addition to that, because of the way that because of the way that the commuting happens, people are using side streets in El Portal as throughways, cut-throughs, and these types of things. So the idea, at least for what can we do in the meantime until we would be successful in lowering the speed limit, until we would be successful in actually getting, paint on the crosswalks or other traffic control devices like the rotunda proposed out on the west side, things of that effect. The signs are something that we are able to do in the meantime. And I believe that with a uniform plan, anyone who's coming into the neighborhood, when you have that elevated kind of signage, like the blue signs even just that we have is a good example. People feel that the area is more cared for, more maintained, and therefore more paid attention to. People feel like they're being watched more, and they will kind of adjust their behavior accordingly. So I think if we can raise the bar on the presentation of the signage, that will help. And I can say as a reforming leadfoot myself that I have noticed over the years which signs have kind of gotten me to be like, oh, like I didn't realize where I was, kind of a thing, and then other signs that I've just disregarded completely, and even I don't know, angered me. So with that, I will close the meeting to the committee. And Dr. Lightfoot Ward, please, what would you like to say?
What did you say the theme was?
This is
No, just tell me what you said.
so the phrase,
Yeah.
the phrase would be, "You took the scenic route, slow down."
You took the scenic route. So you're saying you have taken,
Right.
let's do it right.
Yes. You have taken.
You've taken the scenic route.
Okay.
Slow down.
That's even a little less. Yeah. Okay. Okay. You have taken the scenic route, slow down. And then the way I see it, Ms. Martin, would be that it would be essentially a white field with some sort of dark contrasting print, right? And then a purple or a dark blue, a branded El Portal color frame around it, essentially.
Okay.
Not to get too elaborate for printing costs, because we could do peacock color framing, but I feel like that's gonna up the printing cost, but maybe we'll find out it doesn't. But I just see a uniform frame so that no matter which sign they encounter, wherever it is in the village, it all essentially looks the same, even if it's a different language. That would be the difference. It might be in a different language, right? And so that is my proposal, that we roll out a uniform El Portal signage program like that residents are able to opt into. They choose to come get the sign and put it in their yard, which addresses the concerns that the county has that we're going to be putting up signage that goes against, their right-of-way protocols. And so there you have it. All right. All right, I'll bring the meeting back. No, I won't bring the meeting back to the committee. Does anybody sitting with us this evening have anything to add to the discussion about signage regarding speeders or Leadfoot folks in El Portal? All right, I will close it to the public and bring it back to the committee then. All right, so maybe what we're looking at then is a direction for the manager to get a quote on yard signs with a simple, solid frame color, like either, I'm thinking of the dark blue that's on the seal, for example, and then a white field with the phrase, "You have taken the scenic route." May as well throw in a please slow down. You have taken the scenic route, please slow down. And then, again, we may need to reach out to either folks within the village, residents, whoever may be qualified to help us adequately and competently translate that phrase into both Haitian Creole as well as Spanish, because certainly things get lost in translation. That would be my suggestion for the next step on this item, would be that direction to the manager.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we should maybe take out the please, because I'm not sure how large the sign is going to be, but we don't want the words so small that as people are driving by, it's
Okay.
harder to read. So you have taken a senior route, slow down, I think it should be. So
Okay.
are these signs, what material are we talking about?
Well, so they would be that corrugated plastic, most likely, that you, almost like a real estate sign, like like the two poles, the little two sticks that go in the ground, and then it's got
Like
a
an
simple,
election
a middle
type of
simple,
sign?
a simple metal frame, and then the card that's actually printed on kind of slides down into that frame, so that they,
Like an election sign?
right.
Okay.
So the frames should not be, right, exactly, like election signs. So so the frame isn't so, none of this material should be so costly that it's prohibitive to replace it if it's damaged or weathered. And
Yeah, just
then-
wanted to make sure that the village manager.
and then
knows
I
exactly.
do think we might be a little surprised at the cost of this, and so I do think we should remain open to either an initial, giveaway, and then somehow recouping at least some of that cost for others who opt in beyond that initial push. But that will essentially, we'll figure that out in July, when we would next discuss what these quotes might be, assuming that there would be a motion to direct the manager to do that. So, does anyone have anything further to add on this subject? Okay, do I have a motion to direct the manager?
Motion made, Mr. Chair, to direct the manager to get the quote for the signs.
Very good.
I'll
Th-
second.
All right, with the motion and a second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, Madam Manager, please, by the next July Public Affairs Committee meeting, if we could have quotes. I know that you know who to reach out to for those quotes, so if you need suggestions, please ask me.
No, I'll just use
Yeah.
one. My procurement process is a certain amount, then I would need 3 quotes, but for something of this size,
Oh,
I
very
think we
good.
can do 1.
Okay,
And that's our usual printer, so
very good.
I'll do that.
All right,
Okay?
shout out to Minuteman on that one, I believe. All right. Very good. Moving right along. Let's see if I can find it. Next. All right. If I don't screw myself up here, I believe what we're talking about next would be a hurricane season preparedness town hall. Do I have that right? Now that I've jumbled our agenda items, I do believe that's correct.
Yes, that's
though.
correct. Mr.
All
Chair.
right. So I've talked to Chief a little bit about this. I believe the manager as well, but I feel strongly that El Portal should have a beginning of hurricane season event and a close of hurricane season event. The purpose of the beginning event is to help residents understand what they need to prepare for hurricane season, and the end of season event as kind of a celebration of the end of hurricane season, but also an opportunity for residents to learn how to, properly store things and kind of get everything, packed back up at the end of hurricane season, generators and these types of things. I don't believe we need to go crazy with an event like this, but I would like to, June 1st is the start of hurricane season, and that is only 2 weeks away. I am more than happy to host, say, a 3-hour event here at Village Hall and lead it, and whichever residents, show up, engage them. I would love to have the chief along with me, but I don't know that it would be a requirement. Mr. Geller, I might actually have a question for you on that as to what my limitations might be, because I know that we would want to use an abundance of caution in what we are telling residents at the beginning of hurricane season. And so,
In a word, Vice Mayor?
yes,
Just, I'm happy to talk to you more about it, but the main thing would be, don't recommend like a single contractor for people who want to do something.
sure.
If the village were to compile a list of available ones, that's better, but then you have the risk of, what if one of them is no good?
Well, the way I see the event going would be more of a checklist. Do you know where all your shutters are? Do you know where all your wing nuts are? Do you know how your shutters operate?
Well, the wing nuts will show up
Right.
regardless of what you do, but
So-
that kind of thing is certainly proper.
Right.
Nobody's going to sue us because we forgot to say,
Right.
lock your doors or get some water in the house. I mean, we're not warranting it. So my only real caution would be about recommending individual contractors or suppliers or vendors. Short of that, what you're describing just isn't a problem for us.
Very good. Okay, so it would be feasible then for me to take that on, essentially kind of on my own, so I'm not putting the chief out or anyone else, and I would be able to use this space for 3 hours near June 1st to invite residents to come and have a discussion about preparing for hurricane season.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, then that is my proposal. I'm willing to take this on myself, essentially, and then obviously have time to prepare, for something more formal next year. But at least to, everyone's kind of still in the fog of COVID. Last season was quiet. I was looking at sea temperatures just yesterday, and the entire Gulf of Mexico is already at or around 90-degree surface temperature. I mean, it is upper, right? Yeah, you're trying to gauge but we are in burgundy. We are not in orange or red anymore. The entire Gulf of Mexico, the Gulf Stream itself, we are very, very warm. We should expect some activity this season. Mr. Geller, yes.
And then the only other thing I'd say, just to assist you, is there are, places like National Hurricane Center or others that have extensive lists
I will be
of those kinds of things
Certainly.
that you should certainly avail yourself of and not have to recreate the wheel. They're out there.
Yes, and that certainly is my plan. And I'm a bit of a nerd about it, and I actually visit those sites more often than the average person, I do believe. But again, careful to say, I am not declaring myself an expert. Simply just want to help residents understand what they need to prepare for the eventuality during hurricane season.
The county probably has some
Yep.
resources that they can make available. They may even have somebody, like the museums we talked about, they may have somebody who's available to go out because that's part of their mission, and they could help take some of the burden off you.
If this would go through, I would anticipate I would reach out to the MDC Ready team to see what they might have available for me. Awesome. Okay, so that is what I am proposing. I do not have a date on this, but I would be willing to declare one at the general council meeting in 2 weeks. So without having a date set, I'd probably get with the manager and find out when a reasonable, accessible time that's not disrupting normal operations would be available. Doesn't have to be on June 1st, but as near the beginning of the hurricane season would be best. So
Vice Mayor, the motion would be to authorize, for the committee, to authorize you to go ahead with planning subject to final council approval.
very good. Before I do ask for that motion, I will ask if there's any comment from the committee.
Well, thank you so much for volunteering your time. I do think it's a worthwhile thing to do, especially you're going to be doing it twice, which I think is awesome. But in addition to that, for those people that aren't able to get to a physical event, maybe if you could create just like a sheet that could go up on our website and that we can pub. And if we do decide to do this emergency notification system, that might be something reasonable to get out to people that way as well, because it's good information. That's it.
Very good. All right, I'm gonna, yes, go ahead.
Video it and put it up on the website.
Great idea.
All right. I'll see a therapist about social anxiety on that one.
Okay, also, I know this has been mentioned, I'll say it. The county, we work with the Office of Emergency Management, me, Chief, and Mayor Nickerson, and have attended extensive trainings and meetings with them about the hurricane preparedness. And so I know that the county actually is putting out an invitation for everyone in the next couple of weeks for a online webinar on hurricane preparedness. So, again, to not reinvent the wheel or to get resources that are already in existence instead of having to do that yourself, I would suggest maybe reaching out, and I can certainly put you in contact with someone of how you can do your own here in El Portel, but they are also inviting everyone. So it's already done. Maybe you can
Yeah,
show something
and actually,
from that too.
And what had actually given me the idea for this, other than setting up and tearing down, or at least taking stock of my supplies at the beginning of each year, and then at the end of each year, eating the pantry basically. I had actually attended a similar event at Miami Shores a couple years ago. It was a small event. There was like 20 people there, but it was for the entire Miami Shores community. And it just seemed nice that the local municipality at least was offering some information and preparedness for the residents. So understanding that, we're small potatoes and we're everyone's on top of it. We've got, Miami is the home of hurricane expertise on planet Earth. So, people if you guys can tell me the difference between monsoons, typhoons, and hurricanes, then I certainly will congratulate you. But essentially, the United States, Miami specifically, the National Hurricane Center, is the world's leading expert on monsoons, typhoons, and hurricanes. And so other nations reach out to Miami-Dade County for information as well. So I'm certainly cognizant of that reality. I at the same token, I still feel it would be nice to have something available for the residents here to at least feel that direct connection, and even maybe a sense of urgency about getting ready for hurricane season. Attorney Gill. So,
You can take advantage of one.
right,
And still do the other.
certainly.
Absolutely.
I mean, if you-
Yeah. Like I
you
use,
have a 3-hour tape of the local
Right.
alternating with a 1-hour Miami-Dade or 30-minute
Yep.
Miami-Dade County, and you put them both on the website, and you have them both available.
that would be a wealth of information.
Some people will want one, some people will want the other, they're just not mutually exclusive, you can do both.
Very good.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what I was suggesting, just to utilize whatever they have already, utilize that for your own tailor-made one. But also, Mr. Hugh Gladwin runs a website that we utilize for, weather as well. So
Yeah, I anticipate
tap
doing a
into that.
tutorial on,
Tap into
Yeah.
that as well. So,
Certainly.
just suggestions to assist you as you plan a 3-hour
Very good.
meeting.
All right. With that, then, I'm going to close the committee meeting and open it to public comment. Anyone from the public or outside the committee have anything to contribute to a hurricane preparedness event? Very good. I will bring it back to committee. Do I have a motion that would grant me direction to put that together?
Motion to move to the full council, the hurricane preparedness event.
I'll second that.
All right, hearing a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, we will bring that to the full council for a sign off on that. All right, moving right along. Next comes July 4th. All right. I know that the El Portal Women's Club, Maribel Fruitstone, had intended to be here tonight. She had something else to do with her daughter's activity, so she's not able to be here. I can speak a little bit to what that discussion was, but before I go into that, does anyone on the committee have proposals, concerns, or questions about what we should be doing for July 4th this year?
No.
Okay.
What do you have in mind, Mr. Chair?
All right. So, in the years past, I know that we have taken over the tot lot, brought out the police officers, and had a barbecue. Things are weird still, so we're not sure about if we are going to be excited about packing everybody into the tot lot. So, in that regard, similar to the Arbor Day Festival, however, I think just limiting it to the nature trail would be ideal. Give us enough space and shade, because the heat in the years past, I know, has just been incredibly intense. And so in that regard, here is an additional proposal that I have. The El Portal July 4th event, in my opinion, should be the evening before, July 3rd. And the reason for that would be to try and take advantage of a sun a little bit lower in the west. I can find out. I could find out by the general council meeting. I could find out in a few minutes, honestly, but I don't have it ready right now. What time the sun will actually set on July 4th? As someone else talks, I can probably look that up. But that's what I would say. I think that July 3rd, the evening before, do it in the evening. That frees everybody up to have their July 4th plans. We're not doing fireworks in El Portal, so it's not like we're missing out on throwing a fireworks celebration. So that would be my suggestion. We do some manner of that barbecue style event, possibly some music, like a 3-hour event in the evening on July 3rd. What say the committee?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
are you saying in the tot lot,
No, I'm saying in the nature trail.
in the nature trail?
Yes, to
Okay.
provide for extra shade and space. And is it my understanding that in the years past, there has been July 4th events on the Horace Mann property?
There was 1 year.
1 year,
Yeah,
okay,
it was 1 year with several vendors, and it was like a big,
okay.
That
So-
was when I ran for council. One of my campaign promises was bring events to the west side, and so when I got elected, that's what Jason Walker helped me do, was use the Horace Mann field so I could start bringing events to the west side of El Portal.
So that might be our goal for 2022.
Yeah.
In that we're also trying to build a relationship with Horace Mann. So maybe that might be our goal for 2022. But what I'm proposing is nature trail to take advantage of the shade, evening to take advantage of the cooler temperature. And so to have it on the evening of July 4th would interfere with everybody's plans to go see fireworks and things like that, family barbecues. So that's why I'm proposing the evening before on the 3rd. We can be wrapped up tidy and everybody can do their own thing on July 4th. That's my thinking on that.
Yeah, sounds good, Mr. Chair. We always, if anything usually falls on a Sunday, we usually have it on a Saturday. So that's how we usually do it in the past. So I have
Yeah.
no problem with that.
I don't either. I defer to your plan, and I look forward to seeing your vision.
All right. The other issue with that, okay, so I have 8:16 p.m. is sunset on, what, I need to do July 3rd. It's going to be just a few minutes earlier.
Mr. Chair, I think that we should probably end the event an hour earlier than when it gets dark.
Okay, so if we did a 3-hour event, an hour early would be essentially 7 o'clock. If we did 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on July 3rd,
Something like that for the
4th of
7.
July celebration.
3:30 to 7, 4 to 7, something like that, yeah.
All right, and then the other challenge here is that as it stands, in the past, there's been a budget of $2,000. As it stands right now, because of the unsuredness of large social gatherings, we actually have a $0 allocated to this event. So, as I had stated previously, we do have we possibly have more because of the dinners and the galas, right? But as it stands right now, from past public affairs committee meetings, we have $1,000 unallocated. This evening, we agreed to move 500 of that to the Juneteenth celebration. And so I would propose that we would move the remaining 500 to the July 4th cost. Thoughts on this?
I have no problem with it, Mr. Chair.
I have a completely unrelated question.
Yes, please.
I know that the name of the organization is 500 Role Models, male role models. I remember us either reserving that $1,000 that was in the budget or saying that we weren't going to do it. I just want to make sure that this isn't the $1,000 that we're talking about that's floating for you.
So that event, the role models event I have is in January, which would actually put that next event into the next fiscal year. And so as we address the budget for 2022, we should be able to allocate adequate funds to that event to make sure that we're able to participate in some way.
That sounds great. So I
Okay.
might be misremembering what it was. There
No,
was
no,
some
that-
event.
no,
It was
that
either breakfast or something that we didn't use the money for, and we said we would use it for another organization that was engaged in work surrounding Black male achievement.
Okay.
Is anyone else remembering
I
this?
do.
It was the gala? Okay. Are we
Yes.
still doing that? Did we?
That is still up for discussion. The way I have it in a tracking report is we still have $500 allocated to the Miami Shores Gala. We still have $1,500 associated with the League of Cities dinner. Does anyone have?
Okay, so then I'll
So, yeah.
pull back this
Right.
comment, and I want to address it later
Right,
when we
and
go through the
that-
tracking
and that-
report.
And that should be separate. Those two totals I just listed should be separate from the 1,000 that I had, that I was talking about.
Awesome. So on that note, 500 for July 4th sounds great.
Okay, all right, so I propose that we put a $500 budget to the 4th of July celebration, which for the Village of El Portal would be in the evening of July 3rd. The other challenge is that this is the last Public Affairs Committee meeting before that happens. So, again, if we can square away budget and format, then we would be in the clear, I think, to have, similar to the other events, as a public planning session to hammer out some final details without wandering into sunshine violations. Attorney Geller, do you have an opinion on, does that sound like a reasonable plan for that?
Well, I mean, the simple answer is that any other planning you need to do, just have the clerk post.
Yeah.
There's no reason you can't have a committee, you can't talk
Perfect.
about it, you can't have this a special meeting of this committee or a special July 4th committee. You just can't do it without telling people. So if a citizen or the press wants to come or listen or, whatever, just post it and you can do all the planning you want.
Fantastic.
Let me,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and
Certainly.
Attorney Geller, if we move the idea of having a 4th of July celebration out of committee tonight, we can discuss it at the May full
Mhm.
council meeting. We can put it on the agenda.
And
The June full council meeting, we
Yep.
can put it on the agenda.
Okay.
So,
You can certainly do that, but I mean, to the extent that you need to do, nuts and bolts planning, you can have a committee, you can do all those things, you just can't do it in secret. So, appoint a committee or pick or
Okay.
work it with the women's club,
Right.
whatever, but just make sure that anything you do that it has the force of the council and the village behind it is posted so citizens and the press know about it. And, it's like a workshop. You can do it to your heart's content.
Very good. All right. In light of that, any more comments from the committee?
No.
All right, I'll close the committee and open it to the public. Does anyone joining us this evening have anything to contribute regarding 4th of July celebration? All right, I will close it to the public, bring it back to committee, and then I would essentially be looking to have a motion to confirm that we would have an event in the evening of July 3rd, $500 budget, and the rest we can sort out with an additional public planning meeting.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion in a second, Mr. Chair. The only reason why I said to bring it to the full council meeting is because we have two left before the, 4th of July. Also, I'm trying to make it so that, I don't have to get you guys, like, we don't have to all get out of our house to come here just for that. For meetings, we're gonna be here.
Yep.
So we'll already be here. That's the only reason why I suggested the, regular council meetings. I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Chair, for the, to move the 4th of July celebration event, to the full council.
I second it.
Very good. Having a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Hearing none, we will discuss further at the full council meeting, and we'll go with that plan. All right. Very good. Moving right along as quickly as possible. Code Enforcement Town Hall. I have this because it's been important for a long time now, and especially now that code enforcement is becoming more active. Now, just a reminder why this is on the public affairs meeting is because we discussed that town halls would essentially show up on the public affairs tracking report. So just a reminder why we're discussing code enforcement at the public affairs committee meeting. So code enforcement town hall, originally I was thinking June 12th. We're getting pretty packed in June and it's coming up quick. So my new proposal, I don't know how this works with August being an off month, but the way I see it is either we pack it in July, which is going to be a busy committee month, or we put it in that very slow, quiet month of August. Madam Manager, you may have specific thoughts on whether or not August is a good idea.
August is more of it's a recess for other government agencies, for you all as well. And it's also a time for us to work on budget. So I really don't see why you think June is too crowded. We only have one council meeting and we're having one event.
Okay, so you still want to, because I think June 12th we had talked about. Do you
Right.
still think that's a good day?
I do. I also think it's a good way to start the summer because this is when people are at home and they'll be doing more cleanup and doing things around their homes. And I mean, they're already doing a lot, but maybe, we've been getting a influx of concerns about the code.
yes.
So maybe sooner
So that
than later.
engagement is better sooner rather than, okay.
Mhm.
So then that would be, okay, in that event then, I'm no longer the chair of code enforcement. And this was put in motion when I still was. So I guess what I'd be looking for on this one would be a motion to bring this discussion to full council for finalization of date and time. That way we could include the current chair of the Code Enforcement Committee, possibly have input from Officer Sharyar, as well as the manager at that time. Does that sound reasonable to the committee?
Yeah, I have no problem with that, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, you guys, let's just keep in mind that if you're looking to do a hurricane preparedness town hall towards the beginning of June, June 5th is the Little River cleanup. That's the Saturday.
Mhm.
June 19th is Juneteenth, which is a
Mhm.
Saturday. So if we do it June 12th for code enforcement, you're talking about your hurricane preparedness would be like June 26th.
All right. In that case, then,
Or you could do the hurricane preparedness June 12th if you want it toward the beginning and do the code enforcement June 26th.
all right, give me 1 second. Let me look at.
That's why.
So I feel like I don't need really that much lead time for the hurricane preparedness. So June 5th is the June 12th. Okay. So I believe for this year, getting it started, we might even get more interest. The fact that it's even later in the month. So June 26th. Oh. No, that's not. I won't be able to do. The 26th for me is out. Okay, this gets a little sticky then. All right. So I don't want to spend too much time on this right now. I just want to, since all we got left is the tracking report and 2 more committee meetings. All right. So maybe what I'm looking for is a motion to finalize dates for the hurricane preparedness and code enforcement town hall. I don't think it would be wise to combine them, although that would be fun. So maybe what I'm looking for is a motion to finalize the dates for those two activities at the full council meeting.
Mr. Chair, we've already made a motion for the hurricane preparedness, so let's just make a motion to move
that-
forward with the
yeah.
code enforcement
Yeah,
town
perfect,
hall.
perfect.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, very good. Finalized date at the general. Right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
the motion.
Very good. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Very good. Having a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes. You're correct. I'm very sorry about that. You're right. Before we continue with that vote, I will close the meeting to the committee and open it to the public. Does anyone have any comment on the code enforcement town hall proposed?
Why are we discussing a code enforcement town hall in a public affairs meeting?
So as I had said at the beginning, town halls are part of the public affairs tracking report. And so they show up in discussion. I know there's a town hall also in discussion for public works. And because of the need to notify the public about the town halls, it goes into the public affairs tracking report. And then this item specifically, the code enforcement town hall, was something that I had proposed when I was chair of code enforcement, and we had kind of put it in motion. And it's getting to be now where we have a very productive code enforcement officer, and there is now a need that, as the manager is saying, sooner rather than later, there needs to be some engagement with the residents, because it feels different and new for all the residents, the notices going out, violations and things like this. And so the sooner we can kind of get the residents and code enforcement on the same page and communicating, the better it will be for everyone. That's why we were discussing that we should go ahead and try and get this done in June and not wait till August, because of the need, because of the way that the code enforcement is newly conducting business the way it has not in years past. I don't know if that was way more information than you wanted, but in a nutshell, that is the reason it is showing up here.
As a public official, I'm not supposed to take things personally, but I know nothing about code enforcement town hall. This is the first time I'm hearing about it. And I think it should have been an informational item
Well, we
inside of the packet in itself. Can't hear you. Well, my mic's up. I've been on.
So on that,
I'm not saying it's not my ears.
but to your point, I will say that this was discussed last week at the code enforcement committee meeting.
Well, let's try this again. For those of you that did not know, I was not here last week. My phone went out. I also got a call from my children. Things were not good. So I apologize for not being here last week. I didn't know I wasn't going to be here. This all occurred at the last minute. I appreciate longevity of any activities that go on, but I think that's a little bit disrespectful, not even give me a heads up when I first got on the council that there was such a thing. Because I generally only came to council meetings when items needed to be resolved and resolved orderly. The budget, changing statutes, looking at legislative issues. So the code enforcement town hall meeting may be a necessity. And no doubt we all need to learn about the aggressiveness that code enforcement is engaging at this time. Long overdue. But to hurry up and have it does not sit well with me, especially since I was not here, so it should have been tabled until I came next. Nobody knows what's going to happen before the end of the day. So I've already made my apology, and I ask you to table this item.
Very good.
Vice Mayor,
Yes, please.
as opposed to tabling the item, it should really be transferred to the code enforcement committee. And, whatever code enforcement committee does with it, it can do. I mean, that's for the committee to decide, but it really should be transferred, because it's really, when there's, that would be like this committee deciding to do something on public safety when we have a public safety committee.
Very good.
I have no objection, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so that would be, well, one second. Does anyone else have anything to add regarding a code enforcement town hall? All right. Dr. Lightfoot, are you satisfied with any more comments needed? Okay, very good. I'll bring it back to the committee. All right, so in light of the comments, I would say that what we're looking for now is a motion to bring this. Okay, so the motion is for Public Affairs Committee to await the July Code Enforcement Committee meeting for direction on how to, because really the reason it's in Public Affairs is so that Public Affairs could help announce it to the public, ultimately. So really what we're looking for is the Public Affairs Committee to, I guess we don't need to vote on anything for this.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. Chair, we do have a motion and a second on the table, so let's put that through, and if we don't want that to go through, we can vote no, we can vote nay when we get there, and then you can go to whatever new motion you're trying to do.
Okay, so
Before we vote,
Yeah.
I have some supplementary questions that would inform my vote on this. If we transfer it to the next Code Enforcement Committee meeting, does that mean that conceivably if there was a need to have the town hall meeting, we wouldn't be having that meeting until like August or September? Okay, and I guess I would like to hear from the manager, because I'm assuming that since these notices are going out, if I got a notice, I would want to know what's happening and why things have changed. Do you think that waiting until August, September is reasonable or advisable?
I think there are benefits to having it sooner than later, obviously, because we have a new officer, and before that July committee meeting happens, there may be some residents who are going to be going to a special magistrate. So there's going to be a lot of things happening in the next couple of months. So when we planned the town hall maybe a year ago, or almost, or earlier in the year, I'm sorry, that was what we had in mind, that it would start the summer out with people getting to know what's happening in code enforcement and then following. But if we push it off and have it in the fall, I mean, there are benefits to that as well, but I do believe that it's going to do the residents who are in the situation, they're going to be left out and perhaps trying to battle through this on their own. And I know you've all received emails. I guess we've been getting people with complaints because they haven't been cited before, and so many things have been lapsed for so long, and they don't understand why. It would be a great time to springboard into the discussion that they need to have. I
And
might also add that maybe a Tuesday night would be an option as well. It may not need to be on a Saturday. We only have one meeting in June in terms of council meetings, so maybe we use one of our Tuesdays for the town hall too.
Okay, and one additional question, if I may, Vice Mayor Abam. At that town hall, we are planning to address how people can not run afoul of the code enforcement officer as well, which I think is really important information for people to have before they get hit with that bill. And this is a tough financial time for everybody. So I err on the side of thinking that this needs to happen sooner rather than later. Maybe transfer it to the Code Enforcement Committee, but then are we open to having a special meeting for the Code Enforcement Committee so that we can talk about how to or whether to implement this town hall? Is that something we're open to?
I think it's certainly something we're open to. The issue right now, I think, is if we can, okay, yes, I think that's certainly something we're open to. There's lots of options here. So maybe we take a vote to clear the air and then re-motion.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes.
All right, so the way I see it, so you guys have, I'm not on the Code Enforcement Committee. That's That's Chairperson Lightfoot Ward, that's you, Vice Mayor, and that's Councilperson Perrella. So it's up to you guys. If you guys want to, come back out of your house to have a special code enforcement committee meeting, that's up to you guys. This was in the code enforcement committee last week. The meeting took place last week, right? First choice, you guys have a choice to take it back to the code enforcement committee, which would be July, and then from there decide what you guys want to do. If you guys decide, if there's a decision that you guys want to have a town hall, because the only reason why you're moving it back to the code enforcement committee is if you want to argue about whether you should have a town hall. If the decision is that you're going to have a town hall, well, then you're just moving it back to the code enforcement committee just to argue about a date.
That's correct.
It's no reason to move a whole item back to a committee just to argue about a date.
Madam
So-
Manager, I believe you had this penciled as June 12th from,
Yes, I did.
what were the hours, 10 to 1, if I'm not mistaken?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So if you guys want to discuss a date, it can go to full council, and you guys can just discuss it, and we can just discuss a date. But, I mean, you guys can do whatever you want to do, but if you're trying to move a whole item back to code enforcement committee just to talk about a date, when you've decided that you're going to have it, that's a decision that you guys have to make. So.
Okay, so to recap, the motion on the table is to,
To move the code enforcement town hall preparations to the full council. That was the
Okay.
motion.
all right, so let's take a vote on that and see where we land.
Let's do a roll call vote for that, Mr. Chair.
I agree. Madam Clerk, please, a roll call.
Roll call. Member Nickerson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Martin,
Yes.
Chair Urban.
No.
Okay, 2-1, motion passes.
All right. To be continued in 2 weeks. All right. So moving on to the tracking report. I believe this was included in the email sent to you. To recap, if you have it in full color, the blue is essentially when these events are taking place. The orange is when we should be planning for them in committee. And then you have things like budget listed there. I've made some notes, per discussions this evening. And I will update this and get it off to you. As we get to the July Public Affairs Committee meeting, what will be on the radar at that point will be already Thanksgiving discussion, Christmas discussion, State of the Village, town halls, which at this point I have for Public Works and the circulator, in addition to the code enforcement that we just discussed. National Day of Service in January is already on the horizon in terms of planning and knowing what we need to do. In addition to that would be the 5,000 role models, also in January. These are what's coming up. The only remaining thing to discuss, I believe, is newsletter. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything to bring to us regarding newsletter?
The newsletter has been pretty much ready to go. I'm gonna tell you the reason why it hadn't gone out, because first of all, I was trying to wait for those items that we're gonna be voting on this upcoming council meeting that should have been handled a long time ago. That was part of it. And because a lot of that has to do with the police department. So I want to talk about the new changes coming to the police department in the newsletter, because it was going to be about the police officers. We also have had, since then, like I said, it's been done, but we've also had cops that have left El Portal recently. We've had a few. We have one that's injured also, and we don't know if that individual will be coming back either. So I just have to adjust a few things. But after this meeting, this next council meeting, if things go the way I hope that they go, then it'll be out before we know it. I was really just, like I said, what's going to happen, or what I hope to happen at this upcoming meeting should have happened at least 2.5, 3 months ago, and that was my my position on that as far as the newsletter goes.
Very good.
But it's coming.
All right. And then I'll just say regarding the newsletter, that one of this will come up in just a second. I'll discuss that as we get that item, actually, the last comment that I have. Does anyone in the committee have anything to add regarding the tracking report, events, schedule of planning?
I do have one thing, just what we spoke about earlier, about that planned donation to an organization focused on Black male achievement. I'm thinking maybe the most prudent way to move forward, I don't know whether or not you guys would like me to suggest 3 organizations, maybe in our next Public Affairs Committee meeting. We can hash out the particulars and then decide if we want to move that to the regular council meeting.
I think that sounds like a great plan, so
Awesome.
that way, hopefully, we can get something done by the end of this fiscal year, which would be September 30th. That would be
Sounds good.
our deadline to make that happen.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. Very good. Does anyone, I will close the committee meeting, the committee meeting to the committee and open it to the public. If anyone has anything to add regarding tracking report for public affairs, which is the same as our calendar schedule of events. All right, very good. Hearing none, I'll bring it back to committee. And with that, we're moving on to unfinished business and general orders. Again, Sergeant Sharp and Station 30 gesture. This is not done yet because we haven't done anything for them yet. So on this, maybe what we end up with is yet another direction for the manager to find a quote on, say, like, medal or some sort of recognition, some sort of gesture of recognition, so that even at events in the future, when we have our officers who are helping us out with those events, or like in the case of Station 30, another entity that helps us out, maybe we kind of have something, an idea of what that cost is, or something ready, so that we can let those individuals know that we appreciate their efforts. So that's what I'd be looking for on this unfinished item, would be direction to the manager to cost either medal or plaque. We don't have to go crazy, but at the same time, it should be something that the individual would, or the entity would, value, truly to show our appreciation of their efforts. That would be the motion I'm looking for, to give direction to the manager to quote that out and report at the July Public Affairs Council meeting.
I have no problem. We're good.
Okay. So is there a motion to direct the manager to cost either, a nominal medal or plaque, medal for an individual, the way I see it, plaque for an entity?
I'll make a motion for the manager to cost a plaque for Sergeant Sharp.
I'll second that.
Very good. With a motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And anyone opposed say nay. Hearing none, that motion does pass.
You want to just open it up for the public real quick?
Oh,
just
yeah,
real
okay.
quick.
Forgive me. I will close the meeting to the committee and open it to the public. Does anyone in the public outside of the committee have anything to add regarding gestures of recognition for specifically our police officers, but people who help us out with events? In this case, it was the Christmas caravan. All right, very good. Hearing none, I will close it to the public and bring it back to committee. Do I need any further action?
No, it's passed.
Very good. All right. The next item is PSA program. This is a discussion item. Just again, this is the part of the newsletter that I want to discuss, and that is that if we had kind of a beginning of hurricane season, we could have a PSA attachment. Now, I'm not a big fan of. Let me make sure I get it correct before I say the name, because if I say it wrong, because there's 2 local publications. There's the Biscayne Times and there's the Egret, right? I'm a little bit unimpressed with the Egret, I have to say. I will say that on the record. I think that is correct. But the potential of what it could be, I think, is greater. Much as I was disappointed with the previous format of our newsletter, which I was very open about as well. And so if we had quarterly newsletter, we could include quarterly PSAs in that newsletter, and therefore cost effectively actually get information to each doorstep in El Portal. So I just want to have this on everybody's radar for public affairs, that if we could come up with a list of PSA announcements to deliver throughout the year, annual messaging, right? Then we could kind of pool our efforts and have something a little bit more substantial to make it worth the cost of trying to get it to every single doorstep, which we're going to find out is very costly. And so in that event, maybe it ends up, instead of quarterly, we do that in terms of mailing to every doorstep, maybe just twice a year we do that, right? But that's the way. I think we need a PSA program that allows us to interject ready-to-go PSAs into announcements to the public. Does anyone have anything to add on that type of a proposal?
No, Mr. Chair.
No, I don't.
All right. I will close it to the committee. And does anyone in the public have anything to contribute regarding the potential of a PSA program incorporated with the newsletter schedule? Hearing none, I will close it to the public and bring it back to committee. All right, wrapping up. Finally, good and welfare. Does anyone have anything to add about anything at all? Speak now or hold your peace until the next committee meeting. Not forever. All right, very good. Hearing none, we will move on to adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
I second.
Very good. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed to adjourning the Public Affairs Committee meeting say nay. Hearing none, the Public Affairs Committee meeting for May 11th, 2021 is adjourned at 7:56 p.m.